It is a distinct pleasure and honor to be able to introduce the following speaker. Not because I know him for many years. I will admit that I didn't. I only met him for the first time today. But because our respective histories tie us to the same city. I am a child of this city. And I came back after 20 years of living abroad to celebrate here, be together with you at this 31st convention of the Conference of European Rabbis. And so it is a distinct honor to be able to introduce the mayor of Antwerp, Mr. Bart de Wever, as our next speaker.
Dear ladies and gentlemen, it's an honor for me as mayor to welcome you all here in Antwerp. And I think you came to the right place because we are the world capital of diamonds, which is very interesting. I think we're the only city in the world who has a vice mayor for diamonds, and many of you know him very, very well. We're also one of the biggest ports of the world, and of course, the home to a very large and very diverse Jewish community. And we have proof that the Jews have been living in Antwerp since the 14th century. So I think I can say that the Jews are in our DNA. They are part of our city. They've been so for many, many centuries. Antwerp is their home. It's the place where they belong. We've had many prominent figures in our Antwerp community of the Jewish community. I would like to name Nico Gunsberg. I know that I could mention many other names, but especially him. But also, in present day, we have a vice mayor of the Jewish community. We have council members of the Jewish community. We have in our presence a candidate who will be in 11 days member of Congress, who is a member of the Jewish community in Antwerp and who will once again represent the Jewish community in the national parliament. We cherish the Jewish presence here in Antwerp. If there are any issues that are troubling the Jews in Antwerp, they find their way to City Hall, and they've found their way. I can assure you of that, they found their way. And we listen to you, we listen to respect, we try to find solutions for a lot of problems that we are confronted with. Unfortunately, I have to mention security. We live in very difficult times. When I became mayor, 70 people already had left to Syria to become foreign fighter for the Islamic State. A few years later, the terrorist attacks in Europe started, and of course, with our Jewish community, Antwerp is and can be a target. So we immediately stepped up our game. We asked the federal government to send in military to guard targets. We asked for budgets to physically harden targets. We worked together with self-organization of the Jews. We formed anti-terrorist units in the local police force. We took every logical measure that we could take to ensure the safety of the community here in Antwerp, working together with them. We're also working together closely on a project which is of very high importance to me, and that's the remembrance of what happened during the Shoah. We're 75 years after the Second World War, and all the living witnesses are slowly disappearing. We need to invest more to keep the memory alive and to educate every young man and woman living in this city about what happened. We're going to construct a monument in this city with all the names of all the victims, and we're going to construct a museum of what happened then to make sure that everybody who grows up from all the nationalities, 177 living together in this city, knows what happened here and what should never happen again. Because we live in difficult times and we have to stand together to confront anti-Semitism. It's a coincidence, but coming here, I came from the National Broadcast Institution, the VRT as we call it, our television station, because we have elections and I have to do debates, which is very tiresome. And I was blocked by protesters. I couldn't go in by car. They were blocking the entrance, waiting for me. And they were protesting against the Eurovision Song Festival. Maybe a lot of you are not big fans of the Eurovision Song Festival. I can imagine that even some of you want to protest against it, but for different reasons. For different reasons. They were against it because it is in Israel. And they want a boycott on everything that has to do with Israel. And they forced me to leave my car. I had to go in by foot and I had to go through the protesters, and they named me and they shamed me and they shouted at me and they say, "You're a friend of Israel, you're a friend of Israel." And I got through the manifestation simply by saying, yes, I love democracy and I love enlightenment. And if I go to the Middle East, I know right the place where I have to go. And they were so stunned by this response that I was past them before they knew it. I got in the building and I left by the back door to get here, back here in time to meet Rabbi Yosef, who told me that when he came here and he looked through the window of his car, it felt just like home, just like Jerusalem, which is a nice thing. He didn't see the protesters, and it should stay like that. These are strange times where people consider it to be an insult to be a friend of Israel. I am a friend of Israel. I've been there. We have a sister city there. It's Haifa. I visited. I was amazed. But what has been achieved by Israel as a tech nation. I visited Technion. I was very impressed. I visited Tel Aviv as well, where I saw Muslim families having their iftars. I was there during Ramadan. They were on the beach holding iftars in peace and in quiet. I went to the Jewish capital, which is Jerusalem, and I saw people of all faiths. People of all faiths were there. Muslims, Christians, Jews, living there together, worshipping their faith in safety, worshipping their faith in harmony. I love democracy. I love enlightenment, and I know right the place where I can find it in the Middle East. We have to be realistic. Anti-Semitism is growing in Europe, and it has found new faces. It has found new believers. We've known it in the extreme right. They've always been like that. It's in their DNA. They will never change. But we are seeing it in the extreme left now as well, and it's festering from the extreme left throughout socialist parties in Europe, and this is very, very worrying. And we should stand together on this. We have to say no, not here, not in Antwerp, never again. No, thank you. And therefore, it's important that you're here. You came to the right place, and you came at the right time. I know that we have issues. I know that you have worries. There are a lot of issues on the table about how can we find harmony between Orthodox life in Europe and all kinds of legislation on public health, on food, for example, on education. These are issues. We need to proactively look at that. We need to talk about that. We need to find solutions for that, and we need to stand together on the much bigger issues that we are confronted with, and that will keep Antwerp as a home to the Jewish community. This is not a city where you should simply reside. It is not a place to stay. It's your home. It has been so for many centuries, and it has to stay that way. Thank you very much. Thank you.